welcome to my explanation of how Time Lords see gender, based mainly on my countless hours of watching and, even sadder, thinking about Doctor Who. I've seen plenty of people calling the 13th Doctor transgender, or saying that the Doctor is now transgender, and I really think that's a wrong way to look at it. But before I begin, I'd like to say that you can leave your comments telling me that the Doctor is a man, should always be a man, etc., but I won't be bothering to reply unless they have a really imaginative insult for me in them. As far as I can tell, there is no rational reason Time Lords can't change sex, whether in universe or as a creative choice. And it's not a new idea. There's been constant talk about every new Doctor maybe being a woman since the early 80s. The earliest, though veiled reference to the possibility, was all the way back in The Hand of Fear, something that's older than me and I'm fairly sure is older than most of my fanbase. You see, the evil Eldrad directly compared his own transformation from this to Time Lord regeneration.
How do we know you're Eldrad?
Oh, come, Doctor, you sound like Professor Watson as a Time Lord. You should be well acquainted with the processes of regeneration.
Circumstantial, yes, but it's still evidence that Time Lords can change sex at regeneration. Then Romana changed into a giant and a tiny blue alien during a single regeneration. Changing from Peter Capaldi to Jodie Whittaker is child's play compared to that. In Doctor Who, the usual rules of TV canon do not apply. Everything is up for grabs when it comes to canon. Stuff has been introduced first in the comics, audios, books, and even fan films before becoming part of the show. And in 2003, Big Finish gave the world Exile, a terrible story about an alternate reality Doctor who regenerated into a woman to better escape the Time Lords, but ended up as Bridget Jones. Like I said, it's terrible. The first female Doctor that wasn't in a comedy skit predates New Who, and is from something that's as arguably canon as everything else in Who. Though, like I said, it's an alternate reality. Yes, until now, the Doctor has always been a man, and until 1966, he'd always been William Hartnell. Until 1975, he'd always regenerated over 45 years old. Before 1981, he'd never been blonde, and until 2006, he'd never been someone I wanted to beat to death with a crowbar. The Doctor is always something until she's not. But if you really need to, leave your disagreeing comments under the video. Now the trans thing. While transgender is an umbrella term that covers many different things, I'm generally separating it from genderqueer for the purpose of this video. Because people who complain that the 13th Doctor is transgender, or that the Doctor is now transgender, are not talking about genderqueer. They're talking Chaz Bono or Janet Mock. Okay, why is transgender not the right word to use? Because it's a human concept that's literally alien to Time Lords. Transgender, as we commonly understand it, would probably be a confusing concept for them to grasp because changing sex is something that could happen to them any day. It's a normal and neutral, though not too common fact of life for them. It wouldn't need a word. Think of something wholly normal that can happen to all of us, ultimately doesn't harm you, that can happen or end without fanfare, and wouldn't impact your life in any discernible way. That's what changing sex at regeneration would be like for Time Lords. Would you consider anything like that an identity? Anything as important as human beings see being trans or cis? If Time Lord gender identity could be compared to any human understanding of gender, it would be a very particular form of genderqueer, where a person is fine with the sex they are, but would be equally fine if they woke up changed one morning. In essence, very gender fluid. Why would they be fine? Because Time Lords are fine with what they get in a new incarnation. The only ones that I can think of that weren't were the War Doctor and unnatural regeneration that the Sisterhood of Karn messed with, and the Skinless Master, which was a botched attempt at an extra incarnation. Why are they always fine with the results of regeneration? I'm guessing it's a physical side effect of regeneration itself. Think about it, if a person suddenly found their body, personality and mind seemingly changed at random, they would probably be traumatized. They may well take their own life. Time Lords clearly don't have that issue. That could be because of years of mental preparation in the Time Lord Academy, but I'm doubtful. Partly because they couldn't prepare someone fully for that, and partly because regeneration's already messing with the mind. Why not make it part of the process? The process rewires your brain to accept and love your new body, taste and self, whatever it is, while it rewires your brain and creates your new body. It's the safest way to keep the possibility for terrible results like suicide as low as possible. It's basically a benevolent form of brainwashing. When incarnations of the Doctor meet, they almost always dislike each other, they're embarrassed, they dislike their taste or whatever. Why? Because they are hardwired to see themselves as the best incarnation, and with the others, they're an outsider looking in. They can be more objective. There's a wonderful part in Spearhead from Space where we can see the newly regenerated Third Doctor look at his new self in the mirror, be unimpressed, but over a few seconds accept and begin to like his new self. We can see the last vestiges of the Second Doctor's mind becoming the Third's.
Oh, that face. His hair. Well, I don't know, though. I think it's rather distinctive, actually.
Time Lords being meh about gender would be a side effect to this necessary part of regeneration. If the 13th Doctor is transgender, then every incarnation before, with the possible exception of the first, would also be transgender. I said possible exception because Time Lords are not a race. They are heavily genetically altered rank of Gallifreyan, and not all the alterations are done in the first incarnation. Some, like the second heart, happen when they first regenerate. I'd imagine the mental conditioning to accept the results of the regeneration would come at the same time because there's no need for it beforehand. Gallifreyan society, which the Doctor came from, in general seems to be fairly traditional when it comes to gender, so the chances are he was too. At least until the first regeneration and the programming to accept what he ended up as kicked in. Time Lords are separate from regular Gallifreyans. Not like apartheid, it's a class system, and Time Lords being genderqueer is probably one of the ways that they're different from regular Gallifreyans, along with longevity and regeneration and the fact that Time Lords are in charge. Anyway, in summation, either the term transgender really doesn't apply to the Doctor because she's an alien, or it does, and 13 is very far from the first transgender Doctor.
Can we say one word?
I like your handbag.
Do you? Well, watch out I don't slosh you with it.